Every damn day.
Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to season 2, episode 14 of Every Damn Day. And we will get to my guest in a second, but just want to mention we've got a pretty light weekend happening at the Fledge. There's a MLK food drive that I think some MSU students are helping to happen tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing what's happening there. And then Sunday we have our drum circle. So anybody who might want to come and bang on a drum a little bit for therapeutical reasons, come on out. And definitely make sure you check our calendar, thefledge.com/events, so that you can see if we move it to online or we cancel it because of COVID. So we are tightening up because of COVID. We hope you're all being safe. Get vaccinated. Keep wearing your masks. We can get rid of this. It's going to peak soon. And this could be the year that it ends, but we got to work at it. So enough preaching about that right now. Let me bring on our great friend Dawn. How you doing, Dawn?
Hi, Jerry.
So I know I'm probably going to even compound the problem more, but you send a lot of people to our show. I almost introduced you as our co-producer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
But I don't want to give you that responsibility. But thank you so much for being such a great supporter of us.
Well, thanks for being such a great part of the community, Jerry. It's kudos to you. You and I have learned so much about so many people and things and groups and organizations and ideas in our community just from watching this every damn day. So if I can send people your way that I think are interesting, that would be a good interview, then yay. That's teamwork, right?
I think that, yes, it is. And thank you. I think that we definitely proved our hypothesis that everybody has an expertise in something. Yep. They have an interesting story. And I like the show for that. I do too. It's gone.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of people's stories. I love hearing people's stories. I'm the kind of person, like if I'm out in public, I'll look at people and be like, what's their story? Like trying to think what's going on. So I'm definitely all about learning about people, learning about their stories, what makes them who they are, how did they get to where they are, and just and learning new ideas. There's so many things I've learned just by watching Every Damn Day that I had no idea about before. So thank you for opening that up to me and everybody else.
Well, let's take all those things you just said and flip them back at you.
Okay,
what's your story?
I'm ready. What's my story? Let's see, where do we start? I was born in Chicago, grew up in Southwest Michigan here in St. Joe, and then moved to the Lansing area to go to Michigan State University. And then I never left. So I've been here for 30 years. I'm dating myself there. I've been here for at least 30 years now. And I'm on my 4th career, which I feel like encompasses all of the other careers that I've had before, and that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I'm currently the Director of Development at Ellie's Place, Capital Region. Just before that position, I was the Events and Outreach Coordinator, but I've been an Ellie's Place volunteer since the mid-90s. And I was also a participant in their young adult grief support group back in about 97 or so. And I just feel like I said, everything has led me to where I am now, and loving life. And I'm a current empty nester, recently an empty nester. So this is a new thing too. But you know how that is.
Yes. We had the Band-Aid ripped off all in 1 week. Our son bought a house and moved, and Raven moved to Cali.
That's a lot. Yeah.
But you're filling the house with plants.
I am. I've become a plant mom. I think I have now at least 11 in the last, but we're just talking like in the last 6 months or so. 4 months, 3 months. They're coming to me, and they have names, and they all have interesting pots that they're in. So
that's not the same thing as like a cat lady, is it?
No, okay. I'm not quite there yet.
Let's go back to Ellie's Place a bit.
Yeah.
Tell us about Ellie's Place if there's someone out there that doesn't know about it.
Right. And, there are a lot of people when I mention Ellie's Place or when people hear Ellie's Place, people are like, oh, yeah, I've heard of Ellie's Place, but not everybody knows exactly what we do. So we provide grief support groups to children and teens and young adults right here in the Capital Region. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary. So we have been around, 30 years since 1991, helping over 31,000 individuals right here in our community as they cope with grief. And so it has been, it started off as a grassroots project, and it has turned into, we now have 4 branches throughout the state. We're the headquarter kind of, flagship. We're the first ones here in the Capital Region, but we also have a branch in Ann Arbor, Flint, and Grand Rapids. And so what we do is we have grief support groups weekly for children ages 3 through 18 and teens, and then young adults ages 18 to 26. And any adult who brings a child to group can also participate in an adult support group as well. Do you want me to break down how that looks, what the groups are like? Okay. Yeah. So our groups for the kids are split by ages. So we have like preschool, kindergarten group, early elementary, upper elementary, middle school, high school, and then this young adult group that's 18 to 26-year-old, which is also a very important age for grief support. Definitely an important age. You're, 18 to 26, you're that college age. You're, maybe in college, maybe starting your careers, maybe starting your families, just buying a house, all of those different things. And you're still a kid, you're still grieving. Yeah. And chances are most of your peers have not experienced the death of a parent or sibling or close, someone close to them at that age. And so that's an important group that we have as well. So our groups are split by ages, and then our adult groups are split by type of loss. So one question we get is, do we provide grief support for adults? And we do, but the adult has to be bringing a child to our building for support. So if their kid is in one of our kid groups, then the adult can be in one of our adult groups. They run at the same time. And our adult groups are split up by type of loss, the adult's relationship to the person who died. So it's either spouse or partner loss group, child loss, other significant loss, or we also have a suicide loss group that meets on Monday nights.
Yeah. When you said types of loss, I was thinking you were like the cause of death almost. I had in my mind. Yeah. But that made me think of a question. Yep. Have you seen how there's a dynamic of why kids come for grief, why they're grieving? Have you seen that change over the years? We have. And one question we do get asked is, what type of grief? Is it loss of a pet? Is it, hey, I'm grieving, my kid is grieving a divorce situation? Our support groups are for children and teens and young adults who are grieving the death of someone close to them. So family, friend, coach, teacher, whatever. But yes, we have seen some changes in time, and we've seen more overdose deaths and some tragic deaths and some overdose deaths. And, in this last year and a half, we've seen people who have experienced, someone that they know who's died by COVID, due to COVID. Yeah. So, and that grief is isolating, and that whole extra layer of pandemic right now, where people have felt isolated by having to be at home, not being able to have the ceremonial, memorials or funerals, or maybe see the person before they died. That has really changed things in the last couple of years as far as how people grieve and their need for support. And did you have a lot of restrictions for health and safety on your side? So the need was going up and your ability to be that in-person connection was going down?
Yes and no. I'm going to brag about our incredible staff right now. So we have on our staff 7 bereavement coordinators, and those are social workers. And so what they do is they work with families who call in. And what they were able to do, Jerry, is they were able to take our in-person program. Like I said, our groups meet weekly. It's an hour, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. And they were able to transform that into a virtual session. So all of our groups, instead of meeting in person, were able to meet online. And it really was successful. It really, especially for the newer people who were coming in to the group who hadn't been in our in-person groups, I think they really felt comfortable because that's what they knew. But now we're back to some in-person. We're still offering limited virtual groups too, for those people who might still feel more comfortable doing the groups virtually. But even though that we're back at our building, we do have restrictions in place right now. But really, it hasn't stopped us from being able to have the group. We had to pause for a minute We had to figure out, reevaluate how to do things that were safe for our families, for our volunteers, for our staff, and we were able to make it work. So,
well, thank you for making it work. Because,
Yeah.
there's another question, and it's going to seem, I think the answer seems obvious, but I'm going to ask this question anyways, because
Okay.
I think we need to say it out loud. Why is it important for children to get help grieving?
Where to start, Jerry? We know that, first of all, statistics show that 1 in 12 children here in the state of Michigan are going to experience the death of a parent or sibling by the age of 18. That does not include grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, coaches, teachers, friends, whatever. That number makes it more like 1 in 5, 1 in 6. So kids are experiencing grief. What happens if you hold that in? First of all, kids don't have the same coping skills as adults. By the time we're adults, we've learned how to deal with, most of the time we've learned how to deal with some things. We've had some experiences happen, and kids, this is new to them. They haven't had this experience of grief before. So when this comes to them and they're trying to figure out how to grieve, it's important that we let them grieve. Some kids know or feel that they can't talk at home about the person who died because it might make other people sad. We know that you can't just hold that in. We know it's important to say that person's name. We know it's important to share your feelings and emotions and to work through them. Some kids can't talk at school about their grief because other kids don't understand. They just don't get it. And, they might say, why are you still talking about this? Why are you still sad? And we know that it's so important to offer that safe space for kids to be able to grieve. We know that unresolved grief in kids, and we're looking at that data, could result in risk-taking behaviors, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, truancy, lots of ways for kids to try to fill that emptiness and to try to heal that grief that's inside of them, where when they come to Ellie's Place, when they come to a support group, and they're with other kids the same age going through similar situations, they feel like they're not alone. And so they can learn to cope with, and they get some skills and some strategies to cope with that grief. And like I said, they're not alone. Other people get it. What we do at Ellie's Place is we talk about the person who died. We share memories. We talk about feelings, emotions, and ways to cope with them.
I love that, the mask.
I didn't
explain
bring
that?
That's okay. That one, Terry. I brought other stuff with me to show you, but I didn't bring a mask.
let me love something else. Let's see some tools, and then I got a couple of questions.
Okay, so the thing that you were talking about is our inside-outside mask, and I'll just explain that. It's made out of cardboard. It's an actual, it looks like a mask, and on the outside, kids, one of the activities that we do. So during it's an hour long each night, our group. So during that time, our volunteer facilitators, and let me give a shout out to our amazing facilitators. We have about 25 volunteers per night at our building. And when we do our online as well, who help us facilitate these groups. And we wouldn't be able to do it without our volunteers. All of our support groups, the kids support groups, have 3 to 4 trained volunteer facilitators in that group to support the kids. So one of the activities that they do, and they've got all kinds of really cool activities, is this inside-outside mask. So it's a cardboard mask, and it's plain on the outside, and kids are encouraged to write what it is that you see when you look at them. I'm brave, I'm strong, I'm happy, I'm, all these things. But then also on the inside of it, to write down what it is that you're really feeling on the inside. I'm scared, I'm alone, I'm sad, I'm worried, I feel guilty, like all of these things. And first of all, naming the emotions and feelings is a big important thing. Like, how do you understand it if you don't even know the names for what it is that you're feeling? And then secondly, when you look and see that other people are feeling the same way on the inside that you're feeling, but they're holding it in and that's not what they're showing, that's a pretty powerful activity. And I think that's why you liked it. It really is powerful. Yeah. Here's one that I will show though, especially around the holidays, when there's that empty seat at the table. How do you acknowledge that? What do you do to make it feel like, it's sad. It really is sad, especially the first time that you're going through holidays and you have that place where the person who died always sat. So here's an example of one activity, and this is just a little memorial plate. And you can just make this at home. Just take a paper plate and you can just decorate it with things that remind you of that person. So this is just an example, laughing, flowers, tacos, music, shopping, sunshine, dog, getting nails painted. And so that is something that can represent your person when you put it at the table. Another activity is, this one is a monster chaser. And it's just, toilet paper tubes and some felt and some markers. But on here it says, go away, monster. And we know that kids tend to have nightmares if they're holding those feelings in. And we do a lot of reading. We read a lot of books in our groups, and this goes along with a book about, nightmares or monsters. And so this is simple, that we just put some beads inside of it and give kids that power to be able to shake that at night if they're having a tough time falling asleep. And it helps to chase the monsters away. But giving kids control over their emotions and their feelings, and letting them know it's normal to feel these things. And as we say at Ellie's Place, all feelings are okay. All feelings are okay.
And they're all valid, right?
Yes, they are.
Don't be sad. People say that to each other.
You're supposed to be sad. It is a sad thing. I know I'm smiling while I'm saying it, but I'm really passionate about the work that we do. It is okay to be sad. It's normal to be sad. It's also okay to be happy and sad at the same time. So that's important for people to understand. All feelings are okay. And you can feel more than one feeling at the same time.
Yeah. So I imagine that there's a lot of kids that aren't exposed to your program. And I'm not saying anything. I know that you guys work very hard to have a large reach and be very accessible. How could we in the community maybe help to, maybe even destigmatize? Maybe people think it's therapy. Maybe people think it's counseling. And I guess it is. But can we destigmatize? I'm worried about these kids that don't have anybody to talk to, or they don't, how can we help with that?
That's a really good question. First of all, just learn more about what we do. And if I can share our social media real quick, we are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have an amazing Pinterest page, which I don't know how many people use Pinterest these days. Our Pinterest page, that's one thing that came out of the pandemic, is that we rebooted that. And it has links to so many different activities and thoughts and information about grief and death. And so that is great. But we're on all the different social media platforms at Ellie's Place Capital Region. So if you want to put that in the chat, Ellie's Place Capital Region. Thank you. Ellie's Place Capital Region. And our website is elliesplace.org. And there's a ton of information on that as well. But it is
right. One L.
And we didn't really talk about this. Ellie's Place is named after Ellie Stover, who's a real person who died in 1989 at the age of 11 months. And it was her family and her mom, Betsy, was part of the Junior League of Lansing. And they're the ones who really started everything that we have now. They started in the basement of a church and it grew and grew. But Ellie also stands for, it's not just a name, but it also stands for Embrace Loss Effectively. Embrace loss effectively. That's exactly what we help people to do. But I think I didn't really answer your question. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's, learning.
Yeah, that's one resource, is for people to follow us online, get to know more about us, but also to let other people know, hey, this organization exists. I would be happy to give a tour to anyone who wants to come see our building. And anyone who knows about Ellie's Place, but then comes to our building, has the exact same reaction. When we walk them down the halls of our program wing, everybody goes, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea it was this, all of this, because it really is. It's amazing and impressive what we have set up there. We have a building. It's kind of set up with classrooms that are the group rooms for everybody, but it really is a wonderful program. And if anybody wants to come learn more by taking a tour of our building, I would be happy to, just reach out to me at, give us a call at Ellie's Place. But we do have bereavement coordinators on staff who not only help families get into our programs. They meet with families, they talk to families, fill out the paperwork. Oh my gosh, Jerry, the most important thing I forgot to mention, all of our services are free. Yeah. Absolutely free for families. I should have started with that. Absolutely free for families, thanks to the generosity of our community. But as I was saying, our bereavement coordinators also just do phone consultations. If anybody in the community has questions about grief, we are the grief experts. We're the ones that you can turn to just ask about grief. Even if you're not coming to our groups, you can still call and ask. And that might be helpful to somebody in the community who can't come to our groups. But We do offer groups at schools. We partner with local schools. Just this fall, we were at 12 different schools. We had groups in 12 different schools, and these are middle schools and high schools, where we take one of our staff members or clinicians and partner with the school counselor and have a group right on site at the school itself. And that's usually 10, 11 kids or so at the school. And then we have another 10 schools that are lined up for this coming session. Those are 8-week sessions. Our groups at our building are pretty much open-ended. Families can come as many weeks, months as they feel it's helpful to them. Usually 8, 9, 10 months is about the average. And then we have people who come to our groups for a few years. So once again, it's all free.
I was going to ask about that is, if your parent dies when you're 12, then you need help being a 12-year-old whose parent died. But you turn 15 and now you're a 15-year-old who lost a parent. Does that have to go on for years and years and years? Or do you give them skills to?
We give them skills. And when we talk to people who have gone through our support groups, they will say, oh, what I learned in Ellie's Place helped me, whatever. But we also have, and this is available to our families too, we have kids, just like you said, who will come maybe shortly after their person dies and come for a while, but then they're going through other, those monumental times in life, those changes, those, you hit a certain developmental level, whatever, and you start thinking and processing that grief a little differently. Kids will come back to Ellie's Place and join a group again. Once again, free.
And is it ever too late? Like if
no,
you had a loss 5 years ago?
Never too late. No.
Yeah.
No.
So how can we help? Educate ourselves.
Educate yourselves.
We can donate.
You can donate time, talent, and treasure. That's what we say. You can donate your time. As I said, we have about 25 volunteers each night that help us facilitate our groups and that greet families. We need volunteers for our events. I used to be an event volunteer, and now I'm a staff member, which is, our events are really fun. We have Ellie's Race. That's a big one. You can participate in that either as a volunteer or as a walker runner. That is going to be July 23rd at Jackson National Life Insurance Company. So donate your time, your talent. We have people who are, if you're good at painting, if you're good at landscaping, let us know, and we'd love to have you come and help us at our building. And then treasure, of course, we need funds. We need funds to support what we do. We get grants. We work with corporate partners here in the community. We've got a lot of great corporate partners, a lot of individual donors, third-party donors. We've got people who hold fundraising on our behalf, individuals. So that's another way.
I think it's easy to love Ellie's Place for lots of different reasons.
Yeah, I think so too. I really feel like, not just because I work there, but I also have experienced grief. Are we gonna start this conversation here, Jerry?
We can if you'd like.
Yeah. My parents both died young, and I wish that I would have had Ellie's Place after my dad died when I was 19. I was a sophomore in college, and that is a tough age. So I'm really excited to know that we have groups for that age range, that 18 to 26, when you're still a kid, but yet you don't have anybody else really going through the same thing as you, and you need support. You need to know that you're not alone. And then my mom died when I was 26. So after my mom's death, I was already volunteering for Ellie's Place, and I decided to take part in their young adult group. So not only have I volunteered for years and really gotten to know what the program is and how we do it, I was actually involved in being in one of the programs. I was in the young adult group, and then now working there, I can just see what an asset it is to our community and how helpful it is. And like I said, we've helped over 31,000 individuals in the 30 years that we've been around.
Yeah. And, I first saw Ellie's Place flyer in a funeral home because I was there for my daughter. She had passed away, and she left for young kids. And I don't think they ever came to Ellie's Place, though I've been trying to make that happen for a while. That's why I'm kind of asking, is it ever too late?
It's never. No, it's not. It's not. And on our website, there are, when you go on there and you kind of look to see, there's some drop down tabs, but there's information for parents, there's information for teachers, there's information on all different ways to talk about grief, to talk about certain, certain things. And I think you and I were talking about this before we even got started today. People don't like to talk about death. People don't like to talk about grief, but it's very important to talk about. You can't hold that in. It's going to affect everybody in your life. At some point or another, you will know someone who dies, and the way that you deal with that, especially if you're a kid, is important. And that's why we're here to help our grieving community.
I wish I had my card deck of my creative dying prompts.
Oh yeah. I did not. I don't have that yet. That is a good. I went to the online version and I looked at those, and those are some important questions and stuff. I can't think of any of them right now, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that, when we look at suicides have gone up in the last few years because of COVID in our community, we've experienced a lot. Gun violence has caused murders, and then overdoses, like we were talking about before. Those three things in themselves have all this stigma, right?
They do.
Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to look it in the face. And then when it's just death in general, nobody wants to look at that. How can we help? Like, I remember when we lost somebody and she must have been, in her early 20s, and all the kids in the community were just crushed. I never thought like they could come for help, right?
Yep. It doesn't have to be a family member who dies to come get support services at Ellie's Place. It's the death of anyone who is in your life who's important to you. If you're grieving that loss, then you can come to get support at Ellie's Place. So yes. And so just asking people, how are you? If you know that they've experienced the death of someone, how are you? To say the person's name. I'm sure that you're missing whoever it is. I'm sure that you're missing them. Do you want to share some stories? Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to tell me, how was that person important to you? Do you want to share something fun that you did with that person? So letting somebody who's grieving, especially a kid, letting them be able to talk about that person is very important. But one thing that we like to say is say their name, say the person's name. That person was important, and they deserve to not just be forgotten. They deserve to have their name said.
Yeah. Where do people go when they're 27? Where do 55-year-olds go?
I know. Well, we get those phone calls regularly too, Jerry. And so what our bereavement coordinators have come up with is a list of other support. So if our programming isn't what's going to help you or your family, our bereavement coordinators can refer you to some other resources in our community. Because there are some groups for adults that we can refer to. And there's some online groups, and there's things that our bereavement coordinators know about that can best direct you to where you might be able to find some help.
Okay.
And by you, I mean anybody,
Yeah. I want to go back to you for a second. You said you've been doing this for 30 years, or
Ellie's
I don't know
Place?
if you said, yeah.
Ellie's Place, yeah. Well, I've been I would say for me 30 years. I've lived in the area for 30 years, but yeah, Ellie's Place has been around for 30 years.
Yeah. And then you've been working with Ellie's Place since 98, you said?
Well,
or
no,
when you participated?
I participated. Yeah, I started working. So like I said, I'm on my fourth career now, where I'm supposed to be in life. But back in the mid 90s, I worked in radio. I was on the air. I was in radio. And so I joined Ellie's Place as helping with their public relations and communications. And then I stayed along and did some other volunteering with them. But I forget, where was I going with this? What was
here's my question. You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
You must see just heartbreaking stories every day.
There are.
And how do you process that? What do you do to make sure you don't absorb everybody's trauma for them?
Right. Well, for me, I will say I work on the development side of things. So I'm more of the fundraising and outreach and advocacy. But our bereavement coordinators, we know they're the ones who hear these stories, and they talk amongst themselves and make sure that they're okay and work through, that it is a sad job sometimes, but it's also a job that brings a lot of hope and joy. But one thing I know is that for our volunteers who facilitate the groups at night, because they do hear stories and they do, they do see sadness and they do see tears along with that hope and joy. At the end of every night when our groups are done and the families go home, I know that our volunteer facilitators do have a few minutes to debrief and talk with each other just so they can make sure that they're good before they leave our building for the night.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
we are good on self-care at our building and really trying to build up each other and encourage each other and support each other, because we know that, especially for our social work team, that it is a difficult role to have. And so we try to do nice things for each other and make it a fun and uplifting and kind place to work.
yeah, that's great. What did we miss?
I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot and talked really fast. So,
Well, you covered a lot of things and gave us a
Yeah.
lot of good information. Is there something you want to just get
no,
out there?
I'm looking at my notes. Just embrace loss effectively. That really is a lot of what we are there for. We are free to families. We are free to the schools that we partner with. I will say this: we have recently, just this past couple of months, published and I don't have one here with me, a student grief manual. So a few of our bereavement coordinators wrote this manual to be able to offer to our partnering schools. It's 67 pages long, and it's just filled with so much information for schools, because oftentimes, and with Shannon being a teacher, we know that kids are coming to school and that's where they are every day. And it's usually the teachers, the counselors, those are the ones who get to see kids and sometimes can tell that there's things going on in the kids' outside of school life, their home life, and that they might be grieving. So if we can offer up some help to our schools, that is a great way for us to be able to lift them up and show them some support while they're trying to support their students.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very, very much for the work that you do in making our community better, making our kids stronger, building a future that is going to be better for all of us. So I appreciate you very much, Dawn.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity again to just talk and share and encourage people. Like I said, if you would like to, can we throw my email address in there? Can you
Sure.
throw okay, it's DHADDAD@ellie'splace.org. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I would love to give you a tour, show you around, show you a little bit more about what we do at our building. And if you have ideas of how you'd like to share your time, talent, and treasure, we can talk about that. And if there's someone here who needs grief support, please call. Can we throw our number in there too, Jerry?
Sure.
It's 517, I'm putting you to work, 517-482-1315. 482-1315, and you will just ask to speak with one of our bereavement coordinators and just say that you have questions about our groups that we offer or questions about grief, and someone will be able to talk to you and give you information, resources, and the help that you need if you're grieving.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, that's a wrap. I will see you tomorrow and every damn day, and we love you all very much. Talk to you.